Welcome. Glad to have you, everyone. Today, our first session, we want to be able to talk about how to get out of overthinking. How to get out of overthinking. It might sound so small. Some of the things, let me tell you, I have lived long enough, at least long enough, to know that we are all human beings. We are all going through the same things, the same battles. Even when I don't mention what I am fighting through and what you are fighting, struggling through, we are all fighting the same battles. Now, so many people stay or stand on the pedestal on white horses somewhere, and they behave like their issues are done. They are not of this world anymore. And most especially if someone is a celebrity or a bit famous or maybe has a bit of a following. But let me tell you, actually, the people that do overthinking are people that are known, famous, celebrity, people that you think have reached a certain level. So we are all overthinkers in one way or another. But I want us to simplify this. No hard terms, very simple terms that we are going to use. And for some of you, there is an example that really, really works for me. And that was, I found that which book I should be able to remember. I think it was in 2 Corinthians. For those of you that are Bible readers, there is a text that I just want to, it's a line that I just want to read because it made a lot of sense when I was thinking about the overthinking. For me, it made a lot of sense that says that casting down all imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the name of God. Casting down all imagination. Now, you realize that imagination is so huge. Imagination is so big. Do you know that you can create reality without it being real? Yes. Neda, you guys have never moved and you felt like someone is following you. Now, that is the same road we used to pass through when we were going to buy charcoal. Now, every night I went to buy charcoal, I saw a dead person waking up from that grave. Do you know how torturing it can be? Like, I would even make up the hands, I would make up the face, I would make up, and you know those uvera that they put on graves, the ones with flowers? You know they never rot for some reason. The flowers can rot, but the uveras will remain on. And they keep flipping like this. So now you really see something that is coming up. Have you ever been in a house and you feared staying in that house? Yes. Even here in adulthood. And you hear all sorts of noises. You even hear someone tiptoeing. Yeah. You hear doors opening. You hear like someone maybe is in the fridge and you're like, yeah, but what are they doing? You even feel someone is turning on the light. Like it is an imagination. Imagination is so strong. Why do we have businesses in this world? Imagination. Why do we fail? Imagination. Why do we succeed? Like the creative power of imagination. It's like, I think it's the only thing that when God says that you are gods like me, what he means is you have the capacity to imagine, to have ideas, to think, and to create. That is all. He does not mean the body. What you have here is a gold mine, an endless gold mine, but a gold mine that is overshadowed by overthinking. Because most of the problems that we have in this world are wisdom problems. Why do I say they're wisdom problems? Because they can be solved for as long as you have wisdom. And that wisdom comes from your mind. That wisdom comes from your imagination. That wisdom comes from, how about if we change like this? How about if we do like this? Have you ever, even in pricing, when it comes to pricing your products, for you that are selling products, you know, then you're thinking, maybe customers are not buying because maybe if I tweak like this, even your messaging, you're like, if I tweak like this, do you see that that is the imagination? You're thinking for the buyer, and now you want to make it simple for the buyer to be able to buy. You are imagining, okay? But again, there is someone thinking that, you know what? I think this is really a dead end. There are so many businesses like this. Like everyone is in hair business these days. Let me give an example. Do you know that? Now, what is that? Overthinking, but using our imagination. We have put it inside of us, that, you know what, it's flooded with hair everywhere. It's like even on the dustbin there is hair. Like anyone can pick hair, anyone can buy hair, anyone can, as in hair is everywhere. And that is when you'll find someone, instead of opening up at 6 a.m., they're opening up at 11. Instead of hiring someone, as in you're firing, you're like, I even don't have money to pay them, let me just leave them alone. I think this business, this is really it. I think there are people that have really made it in this business. And you know, that is why we are talking about dominating on the 5th of April. We're talking about dominion. Dominion comes from the imagination. The only way you will go up to a place of dominion is because you believe that there is space for you. The moment you don't believe that there is space for you, and those spaces are earmarked for certain kind of people, you are going to remain at the mountain slope. And you're going to look at everyone going up, and you're like, that one is about to come down. And you're like, but you know, they will fail. So as in, you are the one that is down. You're not willing to take any step whatsoever. Why? Because you have already made up your mind. You have overthought about it, you have over-imagined about it, and now you have drawn a conclusion. It is impossible, it belongs to other people. And then what next? Let me tell you, this body responds to imagination. If you think you are old, you are old. If you think you have wrinkles, indeed you have wrinkles. Like seriously. Have you ever seen people in their 50s and they are not bothered? They behave like 30-year-olds, and they behave young, they're energetic. Why? They don't believe they have aged. They don't. But have you seen 20-year-olds who think they are old? You will even want to map the wrinkles on their faces. Why? Because your body responds to your imagination. It responds to your thinking patterns. So that is why I say that every problem that we have on earth is a wisdom problem. Why? Because if you have wisdom, you can be able to solve that problem. It doesn't matter what the cause of the problem is. There is always wisdom to solve that problem. That is why we say don't die alone. That is why we say talk to someone. Because what there's a lugero in Luganda that's about a magezi. What does it say? Magezi muliro. Nti bwega kugwako ngoga chima wa muno. You get it. And that's you admitting and saying kati chirabika ntuse wenkoma n'ebirowoozo byange. But by the time someone says ntuse wenkoma, that means baba de mu lugendo olw'okulowooza, ate not overthinking, but okulowooza ku answers and solutions. They were thinking about solutions. So by the time you come to your wit's end and you say, you know what, I think in my own wisdom I have failed, let me consult another person. It's because you've been thinking about solutions. It's because you were open-minded. You were thinking, what more can I do? Overthinkers never look for help. Do overthinkers look for help? When you overthink, do you ever think of going and sharing your overthinking with another person? Like you die in your movie with your overthinking. That is why you will have sleepless nights. You will turn, and then if you have a spouse who will ask you, as in, there is no way you can share your overthinking. Because, let me tell you, why don't we share our overthinking? Most times they are, and most times they are stupid and foolish. Like, how dare you start sharing that what? That what? Just think about the scenario you have ever overthought about. The moment you start saying that, you know what, now, all men are finished on earth. I think all good men are finished. I think all the men that are there are nothing. I think, no, just come here in front of us and come and tell us and share with us what you think. Because chances are you have named some men rabbits and some men dogs and some men goats and some men what? So you cannot share the goat-rabbit story. But let me tell you, God suffers with us because he's the one who looks at our hearts and he sees all the weird stories. And sometimes when we are in desperate places, we think about the worst. We think about the worst. Okay? So, no matter what the problem is, there is no problem that cannot be solved by wisdom. And that means that every problem ends up being a thinking problem. Every problem is a thinking problem. It is either brought about by thinking, or it brought itself, and now you have to think yourself out of it. Or you are getting stuck in the problem because of overthinking. So, 3 ways. We can think ourselves into problems. Have you ever been there and you're like, you know what? Now, I'm not going to ask anyone for help. I'm not going. People these days do not even help. I mean, you start crying about your issues, and everyone is suffering with their issues, and then you're like, now you're overthinking, right? Now you're creating a problem that you would have had a meal tomorrow if you had engaged someone to tell them that, you know what, I'm on the wall. I actually don't have anything. Now, you and your children are going to be hungry. Why? Because you overthought the situation. You thought yourself into the situation. No, look at this. I don't think my boss really wants me. Have you seen her? And we talk to ourselves like we're talking to another person. Have you seen the way she looks at me when she passes by me? Have you? Have you? Today she didn't even say hi. And when I said hi, what did she say? But she said very small things that I didn't understand. And let me tell you, like, you have taken something too personal. Guess what? Your boss is not even thinking about you. Your boss, if anything, they're thinking their business is surviving because you are around. Otherwise, maybe they also have their own problems that they are carrying, and now they cannot think about their business, and they're like, God, I thank God because Arinda is around, because now she's thinking about that department. But now, the same Arinda is there, putting their mouth in their nose. And then, just imagine the office politics, another colleague starts spreading something. You know, I think this company is going down, and all of a sudden, you are the one that is going down. Now, I think now they are going to stop paying us. I think they are in problems. I think there's someone who has ever asked someone, it's like, Kwama, are you about to close so that I look for another job? They're asking their boss. And the boss is like, who told you? There's a rumor going around the office that you're about to close, that the company is running under. So you should tell me so that I can look for another job. Now, so many of us think ourselves into problems. Sorry? Of course, now she was on the list of people that they have to think twice about. And let me tell you, when you also find bosses who are not stable, when you find a boss who is stable, who is also like a father, they will look at you and they're like, Bambi, they are worried for their lives. By the way, they can even reassure you the more. They will be like, no, we are not going anywhere. We are here to stay, so relax. But when you find a boss who is also cut out, that boss can fire you based on those grounds. Because they will think then you're the one that is maybe spreading the rumors or something like that, spreading the fear and all that. And you know, fear is a very bad thing in a workplace, okay? So you realize that every problem is a thinking problem. Whether you're stuck in a relationship that you want to get out of, or a marriage that you want to get out of, because there are those scenarios, you realize that still it's a thinking problem. Because sometimes we go in circles. You're thinking about the same thing. How many of us have ever thought about the same thing for 5 years, for 4 years, for 2 years, and you're not making any decision, but you are thinking? Even your mind is tired of thinking. Has your mind ever gotten tired of thinking and it says Mvako? Like, seriously? Notandika kuchirowozako nechiduka nechigana nacho nechikowa chikamba tulowozezake echimala. Like, you've thought of the same thing until you're like, nebi kusobera. How do you think people go into depression? As in, the thinking gets to a place and it can never hold water. The other days, have you ever been at a party and you newe sunga okulowoza? Or something good was happening, but for you had your own situation, a bad situation, and now you were thinking, I just want to go out of this party. I go and sit somewhere and just think. That thinking also looks like glamorous. It feels nice. Until you start thinking and the thoughts refuse. Because, like, you have reached the capacity. The brain also has a capacity. It cannot carry everything. You have widened it, you have exaggerated it, until it cannot exaggerate anymore. Until now, you start speaking to yourself. By the time you start thinking, the only reason as why the mouth will be active is because the brain has stopped being active. As in, for it says, enough is enough. We have fought this battle, but we are not fighting this battle anymore. Now use another part of the body to fight this battle for you. Now the mouth is engaged, and when the mouth is engaged, it starts with the mouth alone. And before you know it, the hands are coming on. And before you know it, that is where we get the panic attacks. You start crying without reason. The heart is filled. The mind is filled. Now you need an outlet. And sometimes that is where people even start quarreling or start saying things that they should never have said. Thinking. Okay? Remember, you have one brain. It's working overtime. Because when you have stress, even when you're sleeping, sometimes the brain stays overworked. That is why you will have weird dreams whenever you're stressed. That is why you will wake up in the middle of the night feeling thirsty. But when life is good, do you feel thirsty at night? When everything is nice, you don't even, you wake up like nature womereze, you cover again, like whenever you want, sleep can come. But when you have issues, like sleep is hard to come by. That is why some people are taking medicine to even be able to sleep, okay? So every problem is a thinking problem. But now I want us to go to the issues that we actually face, because we have more power than we think. If we say imagination is big, then we have more power than we think. Okay? But one of the problems that we face in the thinking arena is underthinking. Because underthinking is more like a limited mindset. Underthinking is more like a fixed mindset. Like, I do not want to enlarge my brain enough to think about enough options, so I only have one option, so I am limiting myself to that option. I am fixing myself to that option. That is where we even have imposter syndrome of thinking you do not deserve and you're not worth. You have not opened your mind to think, okay, what? I'm important. By the time I was born into this family, by the time I have finished school, by the time I have graduated, by the time I even, if I look at my past track record, I opened some business. I have ever been in love and things were good. Do you know that when we remind ourselves of the track record, then we can get to a place and say, you know what, it's just a rough patch in my life, but it does not mean that I am bad. Or it does not mean that I am supposed to be discarded. It does not mean that I am useless. Because imposter syndrome, you feel useless, you feel like you don't even deserve. Do you know there are people who can come here and feel like they do not deserve to be here? Yeah. There are people who can, maybe you are, some people who are public speakers or even coaches, you go to a place and you see other speakers and you're like, now those ones are the ones that I experienced, they're the ones who deserve to be here. But now for me, Naluwabwe. You know, Naluwabwe is in underthinking. You are underthinking about yourself, your abilities, what God put inside of you. When he says that before you were woven together in the sacred places, I knew you. Before you were placed in your mother's womb, I knew you. I predestined a good future for you. That means he knows you are wise. He knows you are capable. He knows you can be excellent if you choose to. But the reason as to why you're not excellent, there is a problem of underthinking. When you think about, and this is an issue I've found even in the mentorship, when I have the one-on-one evaluation sessions, and then you're telling someone, okay, what is your niche? What niche did you choose? But now all niches are taken, but I think, how many people make different types of breads in the supermarket? Don't they all have customers? How many people make creams and body lotions and soap? Like there is a zillion duplication of the same thing, but people are busy buying and everyone has a customer. Go downtown. There will be the same dress. You will find it at 20. Omulana salanga ya yetano. Omulana salanga high end. Nebabaguza mitwala abiri. And someone will tell you, now, the difference is the material. But even if you touch the material, sometimes you will never even see the difference. But to those who know, they know the difference of the material. And people buying. Now, the moment you have the underthinking, that is when you think, I think what I'm going to say is not that important. I think even the video that I'm going to shoot, I'm going to say, but these things are the normal things. What did you want to talk about? You wanted to get like a different revelation that had never existed in the world so that you can come and say, hey, look, guys, this one, you're hearing it for the first time. Why are you using the same words that we use every day? Use another language, Kali, that we don't know. Wanji? There is nothing new under the sun. Whatever thing you want has been done by other people and has been done and has been done and has been done. And guess what? There is you saying the normal things and the normal things actually shift me and they change me. And there is another one bringing all the science that they know in the world. And then I'm like, what did they say? I need an interpreter because these things they're like bulldozer formulas. They're like, what? X times what? I don't want. Just tell me, wake up early in the morning and plan your day. That will be good for me. Don't give me sequences and formulas. So is there anything under the sun? There is nothing. Everything that we want to do has been done. So do you see how underthinking puts us in a place where you can even be in a marriage and you underthink about yourself? Like now I think there are other people who are really good. I think, and then there are others, kamala na alabono, kamala na alabani. I have seen, or it was a reel, or it was on a short, I don't remember what it was. And in my heart, I'm like, that is an underthinking. You are thinking of yourself so low. It does not matter where you grew up from, what color you are, where you come from, who grew you. You are the masterpiece. You are the masterpiece. You are the most authentic, and you are one in this world. There is no one who's like you. Even if you were born twins, no one is like you. No one has your DNA. So the moment you start underthinking sometimes comes from comparison. And comparison is a killer and a stealer of joy. It's a killer and a stealer of progress. You cannot progress for as long as you are comparing yourself, because then you have to be together with those that you're comparing yourself so that you can compare yourself. You cannot be ahead of those that you're comparing yourself. And then, because then you will be looking behind and saying, what are they doing? Can I do it here? You remember you are ahead of them. So that means if you're in the comparison game, you're either at the same level or you are under them. Because then kulingiza bakola shinange nchikole. Most of the times gwe bakopa atula mu maaso akopa ya atule kubanga then kutunula nerinyo dikopa bulungi. You have to see the name properly. And that is, comparison is a killer of joy and a killer of progress. You can never progress. So the problem of underthinking. I want us to be able to look into our lives and ask yourself, where have I underthought about myself? Some of us have not made our businesses big because we are busy, underthinking. Some of us have not made our marriages better because we are busy, underthinking. Because the moment you have dominion in your own home, in your own work, do you know that a person who has authority behaves different? A person who feels like they belong, they behave different. Have you ever seen omwana w'omumaka n'omwana az'obuzi gwe balese either a chadde or something, how they behave totally different. Meanwhile, the other one will go and push the fridge and nakunukiriza obugulu agenda jeyo chayagala. The one who is there will be telling, mommy refused you, don't open the fridge. Why? Because they feel like they don't belong. Maybe if they find them in the fridge, they are going to be shouted at, or they are going to be pulled away from the fridge, and they are going to be told never to go to the fridge again. But the one at home, even like they feel like they can even sit and they remove a shoe by just casting it like this. But tell omwana atali wa waka nti jamu engatto yo ayagala fukamira agijjemu amala atambule bulungi nnyo tatambulira ku carpet atambule bulungi nnyo agiteeke ku nsonda, even if by the way your home you're not treating them bad, but there are people that abakulidde mu bugubi obungi that they cannot loosen up. So even when you try and tell them that it's okay, you can go to the fridge and get what you want, they will even, I know someone who has ever gone to my 2-year-old and told him, you open the fridge and get juice. But the 2-year-old is being told by a 7-year-old, because the 7-year-old doesn't feel like they should go to the fridge. But the 2-year-old, you just point to the fridge and he will run, you know? So you realize that underthinking puts you in a place where you are not okay with yourself, but guess what? You're also underlooked by everyone else. You are underlooked by everyone else. When they tell you to talk about your merchandise or to talk about your product, like, kale, tutera okuleta kale obsati no, like, you cannot say, we bring shirts, proper shirts, nice shirts, like first class, and then you'll find someone aleta indeed obsati naye nga manya gakozesa ku masati ge. And let me tell you, that is a selling tactic. If you tell someone, you know, this is a good material, touch it and feel it. And you know that size, and you know, as in someone feels like they're buying something that is really worth it. But because nina akaduka kale akaduka kange kali eyo, and it's okay, tujabi kuletera tofa itojja ku kaduka kali eyo. You are underthinking about yourself, and everyone else is going to. And have you ever underthought about what you're putting on? Guess what? Everyone underthought about what you're putting on. The moment you look at yourself and you don't feel smart, just know when you go out, everyone is going to think that you're not smart. But put on and feel like you're on top of the world, and you're like, let me tell you, there's as in the way you walk is different, the kind of confidence is different, the way you speak is different, as in toina chokweka tewe komoma, as in yenze. You know, and that is not thinking highly of yourself. I think, look, English language has been diluted. Thinking highly of yourself. What are you supposed to do? Thinking lower of yourself? I would rather think highly of myself. I'm a child of God. I am beautiful. I am wise. There is no situation that can fail me, as in I can think myself out of a situation, or I can consult myself out of a situation, or I can pray myself out of a situation. I have endless solutions. So I am not going to be there because there are people who are good at intimidating, and no one should ever intimidate you. Guess what? Sometimes the people that intimidate us are also barking dogs. Some people mask, only that some of us don't know how to mask. But if we knew how to mask, we would also be woof, woof, and we'll be lying to people that we are big and yet we are not, that we are confident and we are not confident. So, underthinking is bad. You've come to a conclusion that there is nothing good about you and you are hopeless. Like, this is a dead end. It's not going to resurrect. It's not going to be, you know, it's not going to happen. It's not going, as in, for you, you have come to a conclusion. I don't want you to come to that conclusion with yourself. There is a lot inside of you, okay, that we really need to think about. Now, the other thing that we talked about was overthinking. And when we talk about overthinking, it reminds me of a scripture that says that be anxious for nothing. Like, be anxious for nothing. Because everything in the world is figure-outable. I think I've said that so many times. Anything, even if I'm in the ditch, at least I can shout. I can shout. I can try to hold on to anything. I can try and keep my peace so that I don't lose my strength, maybe to wait until someone passes by. As in, I still have you ever seen people who have panic attacks? People who have panic attacks are people who think, I don't have any other option. This is it, and this is the end of it. And that is because they are overthinking. Now, peace. When that scripture says that do not be anxious for nothing, that means that there is peace that we have in the world, or that has been provided to us, but peace requires your participation. If you're writing, I want you to write that. Peace requires your participation. Peace cannot come and it just bombards your heart, that, oh, the peace that transcends human understanding, that it is just going to come and melt on your heart. And no. Peace requires your participation. You can accept peace into your heart, or you can lock the door of peace into your heart. And you're like, you know what? Me, I don't want peace. All I want is violence. I don't want, like, oh, a day just comes and you're like, all I want are problems. Problems upon problems. Why? Because when you choose to overthink, what are you inviting? Problems. Because you will even overthink about the beans that are on the plate. You will overthink about anyone that is walking, and maybe they look at you at a certain way and you're like, this is what they thought. Were you in their brain? You were not in their brain. Has someone ever overthought about a customer? Because a customer came and they were asking about this and they were asking about that, and their face was a bit gloomy, and they're like, akati bambi alowozezza nti nze sina na kyenkola ku Kampala wano. Okimanyi ekigambo gwakitaddewo. Ye teyakikuteereddewo. Naye okutta ogugamba gwe ogunene bwe guti ogutaddewo. Let me tell you, you will believe it. So, even when someone comes and tells you, just imagine you go back and maybe your wife or your husband tells you, ku business, in your mind you're like, as in, because everything we look, a person who is seeking problems, they will always find problems. And they will always find confirmations of those problems everywhere, in everyone. Because guess what? You are interpreting everything how you want it to be interpreted. Because you already made up your mind that this is what it is. When you make up your mind that you are ugly, even when a taxi conductor looks at you when he is going, aita Kampala chireka, you'll be like, kale naye andabi. Like, seriously. Like, there is a way the world will conspire. And everything will act like as though it is confirming one thing. That. The world will conspire to confirm one thing, that you are useless. The world will conspire to confirm one thing, toina lugendo. The world will conspire as in everything. Because why? It is your mind interpreting everything. Remember, your mind, like we say about attitude in Beyond Success, that it is like a lens through which you are seeing things. So sometimes some lenses are tinted. So when you look through a tinted lens, everything is going to be yellow or everything is going to be black. But the moment you clean the lens and you're like, you know what, this is no time for overthinking. I am young, I am energetic, I am gifted, as in I can start somewhere. Can I plant myself in a certain community? Can I be able to go to a like-minded group of people that are also growing, creating business and wanting to thrive in the world? Do you know that sometimes our overthinking comes from influence? The people that are surrounding us? Ngabo, they are very good at critical thinking. They will dissect everything. They will dissect everything. Wali atudeko ku muzigo omuntu nakumenyera embeera bulungi nnyo. Oba ayinza n'okuinterpreting. Let me tell you, some people have discernment, but when you have a gift of discernment, but when you are not mature enough to use that gift of discernment, what you start doing is gossip. Have you ever seen people with, you look at someone and you feel like they're going through a certain problem? Have you ever looked at someone and you felt they were going through something? Now, we all have a certain gift of discernment to some extent. But do you know that if you misuse it, this is what happens? You will read it like that, and then conclusively, you will go and tell another person, no, like it's a feeling you had. No one told you. You just saw them and you felt like they were struggling with something. And instead of going with that burden to God in prayer and saying, God, make it light for her. I don't know whatever she's going through, but give her the grace to go through it. Just to encourage someone, hugging them and telling them, you'll be okay. You'll be fine. You get it? But here you are, where antennas zasomye danezi connecting. And all of a sudden, no nyayo munno. No mugamba nayo chimanyi nti ebintu si birungi. And all of a sudden, no mutandika okukimenyamenya. Okimanyi nti omuntu bw'atunula bw'atyo, kino kyaba agenda, kyaba ayitamu. Agamba, obwo obufumbo, ekyo si kyabaana, ekyo kya bufumbo. As in, noloza bano gundi in-laws oloza sibe bamutabula Wow, relationship we bagenda mu single batabula. Ye yabisomye dda. Yabitaddewo dda yabinyumirizaako n'omuntu omulala. And guess what? Eyabirese kabireeta ne kabimenyamenya. They are the ones that are going to lift the whole package again. Take it to other people. Because tekisobola baggweerako. Do you see how we are causing problems? By overthinking about what other people are going through as if we don't have problems of our own. Ayinza nno okulowooleza ku muzigo nga tanaba nagusasula naye ali busy alowooza by'abalala. How they have faces that are looking like they have problems. Just imagine. So thinking, our minds, we are supposed to govern our minds. We are supposed to govern our minds. Our minds sometimes don't have speed governors. We run ahead of ourselves and sometimes we run slower than we must run. So that means our imagination should be able to regulate and say, you know what? No overthinking. Peace requires your participation. You open that door to peace and you're like, you know what? I am going to sit in my house. I am going to sit in my house. I am going to think about my own life. I am going to plan about my own life. Okay? And everything that does not concern me, that is an extra weight that I do not want, not even a single day in my life. Guys, when you get to a certain level of maturity, I can see all of you here are younger than me, but when you get to a certain level of maturity, there are certain things that are real weights. Like me thinking about you. Is a heavy weight, like not even a 10 kilogram or a 30 kilogram that I am dragging along, as in I have things of my own to carry. By the time we get to a certain age, some of us are the ones taking care of our parents. Sometimes we have parents who are sick. Sometimes you have children who are in school. Sometimes you have, when do you have time to think about, if you have time to think about other people, just know prosperity is nowhere near you. And you will never see prosperity in your life. Wealth. A wise man leaves wealth to their children. What kind of wealth are you going to leave while you are busy overthinking and underthinking? Can you regulate yourself and bring yourself back to neutral? That is what I do all the time. And that is why I actually came to think about this, because it requires your participation to look and choose and say, there are 1,000 thoughts that have come through my mind. If I wanted to dwell on how the other one looks like this, and how the other one said this, and how the other one said this, that is the worst use of my time. So now, can I think about my community, the people that I am going to talk about? By the way, I honor you so much and respect you so much that when I come here to speak with you, I even chase people out of my office and I'm like, I do not have time. That only time I have is to think about what I am going to offer the community. You get it? As in, I could have had 1,001 things to think about. And let me tell you, people will bring those thoughts in so many ways. But the moment you choose and you're like, you know what, this one behind me, devil. Not today. Not today. You're not seeing, no comment. You're not getting any of my comments. My time is precious. Sometimes that is why we even choose to hide. Have you ever chosen to hide? Have you ever locked yourself in the bedroom? Or you lock yourself somewhere and you're like, why? Because you know whatever they're going to bring to you is not, as in the temptation of whatever you are, no like is high. Because kakati ogamba otya senga nti kakati omanyi asina budde kuwuliriza ebyo by'ongamba. Wanji? You switch off your phone because, or sometimes you mute certain conversations. And you're like, these conversations are not going to make any alarms when they come to my phone. So I will not know that they actually came. Why? Because you are resetting yourself back to neutral. You're saying, you know what, I should be able to operate at an optimum level. I am not underthinking about myself. I am not underthinking about my operations, my programs, my business. And then I am not overthinking and carrying the whole load of the world on my shoulders. No, I am not going to do that. So can I come to a neutral position where I know my lane? Okay? And if this is my lane, can I stay in my lane? Can I concentrate on my lane? Can I sit down with a pen and a paper and start to think, the people that have made it in the world, the people that are dominating in this industry, what have they done different? If I'm in the hardware business, hardware world, what have they done? Where did they begin? What can I do different? Do I need to put money aside? Do I need to save better? Do I need to create better relationships with the suppliers so they can supply me more? Do I need a bigger space in order to have more merchandise? What do I need? Do I need to establish better relationships with my clients so that I can give them and they can bring the money later? Because all those options are existing. So do you see that? You have a lane that is carved out for you, and now you have chosen to stick in your lane. That, you know what? This is my business. Can I mind my business? Because the only way you mind your business is by being in neutral. Not overstepping your boundaries. You're not overthinking, you're not underthinking. And now you're just choosing to stay in your lane and mind your business. If you need to drink your water, but mind your business. Gwokulingiza ku mudaala gw'oli maama ebintu byenga tebitambula. Weebuuza ebibyo bitambudde. You get it, auntie? Because kati enjogera y'ennaku zino, it should show us that, by the way, sometimes we carry a huge load that we are not supposed to carry. Whether tebitambula. Let me tell you, when someone comes to consult, even be very careful. I think about business. I told you about the people to be careful about. The stallers, you remember? People who keep stalling. They're not making decisions. But every time they're coming to get wisdom from you, run away from such people. Because they're stealing your time. Someone comes, kakati, luli no, mpozi erije try to get ali enyumira, mpozi wali ogamba chi, what were you saying? Now we no tandika, no symbol kono. And then you start, no your data, go yira data. Wakamu yira data emirundi munana, tewali kye yali akozeeko. But every time you find the need, you feel, and now they know your weakness. Do you know there are people who are also weak like that? They are super advisors. For them, everyone that comes. Nebo musanga ku mudaala gwe ajja kuweerawo amagezi. Kati ogenda okulaba buli omu ajja. Amalako olunaku ng'akooye naye nga bye yandikoze tabikoze. They have not done them. But they have advised everyone else. And guess what? Maybe the people they've advised have not even done anything. And then, I think they were that rushing demons. People who rush into things and do things without thinking. And they make accidents. And every time they're coming back to report to you. And like, now, you know, there was this thing, they told me to invest money, it had some money, and I was going to get this money after this time. And all of a sudden, now, buli ayine nakweyo ajja gy'oli. Ngamba, sorry, kale singa wangambako. Nandibadde nakulabula, n'otandika omubuulira waliyo bano, waliyo ne bano, nabona beegendereze, ne bali beegendereze, and like, clearly, you cannot be the information center for everyone. You can't. That is too much work for yourself. And even if you're good at it, that is a weight you do not want. That is why, can you be able to charge them? Yeah. The moment people who come for advice, unsolicited advice, okay? And you actually want to be able to lighten that load, tell them, to give you an hour of my time, 50,000 shillings, or to give you 30 minutes of my time. So, nakamba, kachojako ne sente okuwa magezi ga business. Nakamba, nzijako ne sente, kubanga nanga magezi ga business ate nagafunirawo. Nange ninaje nagajja. So, ogenda okulanga, gundi nno bajjatandika, gundi nno tafuse wa lugezigezi. Kati sewe business, amagezi ga business agtunda matunde. All of a sudden, tokyamala budde bwo. You are lighter, your skin is going to glow, you're going to sit and call your legs, sit on your fan, think about the business 5 years to come, 10 years to come, what kind of legacy do you want to leave, and all those things. And come back and think about it again, and then plan and implement one thing. But you can be there, and all the time, you're everyone that has a wrong case in the family is the one running to you. So lighten your, tell them that, you know what, even if you're not busy, your me time is very important. Someone calls you, kanchikuitiremu kati, ugamba nti nedda, mbadde nkyali muko busy mukatono, naye nja kuddira, nja kukubira nga nfunye obudde. And obudde bwolina bwakufunya ku mikono, and think about your business. Yeah. I know that it sounds selfish, but sometimes we need to be selfish in order to make advances in life. And that is how you reset yourself. And then after some time, you get to know that, you know what, I don't need this, I don't need that, and I don't need that. Okay? So that tutetwekwata ku bintu bingi nnyo. Okay? So peace requires your participation. It is available to you, but it doesn't mean that it can be accessed by you. Peace is available. You just choose. Today, if you choose to say, I am going to live a peaceful life, you can live a peaceful life. But it being available to you does not mean that it can be accessed by you. Access is a choice that you make. That is the participation that we actually talked about. It's like money. If you have money in the bank, right? I mean, there are certain procedures according to the bank that you must do in order to get that money. So it is your money, but sometimes you will not access it. Like we are in the holidays right now. I was doing a wire transfer yesterday, and they were telling me the wire transfer is going to be done on Tuesday after the holidays. And in my heart, I'm like seriously speaking, you had a full day, like at wire transfer? But according to their rules, they have put it that they're not going to do it on Thursday. They're going to do it on Tuesday. You get it? So now that means that even when it comes to peace, it can be available, but you need to have access to it. So that means peace has rules. That peace, you just decide and say, I am just going not to put so many things on my plate. I'm going to put few things on my plate, and then I'm just not going to overthink. And then when a thought comes, I can actually reprogram my mind. I can switch my thoughts. You can switch your thoughts, right? You can say, no, you can shake it. You can say, you know what? I'm just not choosing to think about this. And if it's coming to you when you are alone, you can choose to go to where there are people and you start a conversation. Or you can choose to say, you know what? Let me get a pen and paper. Do you know what chases thoughts? Like a pen and a paper. I don't know whether you've ever done it. The moment you're sitting there, it comes and you start thinking and you start thinking. You even start going into the fantasy world. How many of us have gotten lost in the fantasy world? Or I wake up like this, or I do what, like all those things. The moment you get a pen and a paper and just think about where am I in my life right now? You jolt yourself to reality and you're like, no, I'm in the real world. Okay, so I might as well face it. Where am I? I don't have the kind of money that I need. Yeah. And you're like, the business is really, it's surviving. Or it's sinking. You be honest with yourself and you're like, I am actually sinking. If I'm not careful, 2 months from now, I will have closed this business. Honestly. And you're like, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. I promise myself that I'm going to do, but I'm not. So I usually say I'm going to post and I don't post. I say I am going to make sales and then I don't make sales. Every time I post, I'm posting motivational quotes. How many of us are victims? And I'm posting motivational quotes and scriptures. And then they say you have to be consistent, but I post once a week. And sometimes even a week goes and even 2 weeks go. And then how do I even call myself a speaker? And yet, nchana nagira, you know, I'm still, and then I promise to shoot videos, but again, this phone also has a bit of a bad picture, but I will buy, eventually when I buy a phone, so now I need you to be realistic with yourself and say, when I buy a phone 2 years from now, because maybe that is when you will be able to afford a good phone, as in, talk to yourself. Call yourself on the table and say, Hilda, talk to me. Talk to me. When will we be able to buy a good phone so we can shoot videos? And you're like, according to our salary, and yet we have rent, and then we have with this, and then we have our mother who is sick, and then we have, we can buy a good phone after 1 year after now. And then you ask yourself, am I willing to go a full year? minus doing what I'm supposed to do because I will only buy a full a phone then. And you're like, those are excuses. And excuses and success, they cannot move together. So now I must be able to cancel the excuses if I want the success. So that means I need to start with what I have. But now I don't have a ring light. And so and like, yeah. As in, guys, do something. When you're in neutral, that is when you can actually be very honest with yourself. Very honest with yourself. Have those conversations. Have a pen and a paper and ask yourself, if they say that success are habits, how many of my habits are actually habits of success? If they say that I am the average of the 5 people in my life, can I start? Or kabengono? What traits? Ate majidu. Atono Pamela, neono Pamela. Songola nyomu abamukwogera ku bantu all the time. So is that what I really want to be? As in, things are doable. They are easy. But why? We are not thinking about the right things. Why? We are either underthinking about ourselves or we are overthinking about situations. Now we have failed to kwekunganya, gather your thoughts, gather your mind, and you're like, I told you about my daughter. If she wants attention, she has to get it. Now, she will shout from there, mommy, and then maybe you had someone ever called you 1,000 times and you've not heard what they were calling, especially children. And then you see, you're either busy on your phone or you're busy thinking about something. And so, what she discovered was like, if I really want attention, I must come and... So she will come and, in front of me, hold me by my cheeks. And sometimes even slap me a bit. Mommy, and then you're looking at her. You're like, what are you saying? Now she starts, no, while your mind has already drifted into overthinking. Again, because it is so simple. Overthinking is the simplest thing. Like, it's like sliding on a banana peel. Like, it's just so simple. And like, but mommy, are you listening? I'm like, I am here. Do you know you can say you're here when you're not here? Exactly. Let me tell you, children of this generation, they are going to manage us. Kabisa, they are going to manage us. They are not like us. How dare you? Ask a parent that, what did I tell you? Mommy, you say it. And then you will say, but I didn't say it like that. Now that means you were not listening. And then you will tell them, okay, say it again. And then they will say it again. And then half the time you even don't have solutions to their problems, whatever they are saying. For example, she was sending me, Ariel was sending me for a live lion. She was like, mommy, buy me a lion. And I'm like, what kind of lion? I want a big one. Okay. But listen, I want a live one. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to live a live one. Mommy, are you sure? I'm like, yes, I'm sure. I will get a live one. But of course, half the time you're even thinking about other things. You're not thinking about what they are telling you, which is not good. Because at some point, we must come to their level and be able to reason with them and even make fun of what they are talking about. So you see that you cannot have that discrepancy in your life. Bring yourself back into the neutral. Let me tell you, the moment you learn to bring yourself into the neutral, that is where gratitude starts. That's why you start being grateful for who you are right now. Not the person you're overthinking about or the one that you're underthinking about. You're like, I'm alive. I have a functioning brain. I can actually reason. I can actually do a business. I can actually start something. Okay? So bring yourself into the neutral all the time. I know, and I know somewhere for the Bible readers still, I get most of my references in the Bible because it's the best book. It's the book that I read the most. Okay? And there's somewhere the Bible says that whatever thing is holy, whatever thing is, do we have any Bible readers here? Whatever thing is worthy, whatever thing is, sorry? Think on these things. So I want you to be able to mirror that whatever you're thinking, if you can be able to flash it against that kind of scripture and say, is it worthy? Is it building? Is it edifying? Is it progressing me? Is it? Building my self-esteem. Is it taking me somewhere? If it is not taking me somewhere, I am ditching it. I am too old for certain things. I am too old for certain thoughts. So I think about how you're walking. How is it going to contribute towards my success? It's not. Okay? I think about who you're dating, like clearly. It's none of my business. It's not adding anything. And it's not, if it's not adding anything, if it's not putting money in my pocket in a legitimate way, and it is not adding value to me, I am not thinking about it. That is why even to some of the coaches and the counselors that are in training in this mentorship, I tell you one of the things that you must be able to teach yourself, and I pray that God helps you, is to detach from people's problems. Because you can never be the anchor of people's problems and you think you're going to live a good life. Let me tell you, I can listen to you. I will know what you are going through. 15 years from now, I will still find you and I will know where I will stop the conversation. But guess what? I will never carry your problem back home. I will never. We will speak. I will feel for you. I'll be empathetic. I will advise you where I need be. I will facilitate you where you need to make the decisions. I will check on you whether you actually made the decisions or you made the progress. But I will never, before you know it, I'm getting heart diseases. Will I help anyone with a heart disease? No. So the moment you say, Madam, bye, and I'm like, bye. And I'm like, Mukama, oyo muwe chisa? No, mumirembe, muwe chisa abikoleko. When you call me, I will remind you where we stopped. I will be remembering the problem, but I will not carry the weight of it. Because that's what has killed so many counselors. Because they keep worrying. They carry their problems into their homes. Because, and then you're thinking, kakati wange nange bwana chinkola. You don't think about that. You advise people who are separating and people who want to come back together. When you come here and go kuba party. Hey, that is how it's supposed to. Some of you are like, that is inhuman. You will get there slowly. Boko menongo kolachi, ngokuba party. Boko maona ba ko mani mpitia machino mwamba yiba nange. Ate genuinely, nga you mean it. I feel for you. I'm praying for you. And when I say I'm praying for you these days, and this is my last word because we have to go. When I say I'm praying for you, immediately I will make a prayer for you. Because I know that promises of prayers never come to pass. That I will pray for you. When in my time will I get time to come back and think about that? Okay? Unless you remind me. But when I say I am praying for you, by the way, there and then, I make a prayer whenever I can. Okay? So, I need you to be able to guard your mind. Guard your mind. When you sense your mind drifting, put up a boundary and bring yourself back to the neutral. Be very intentional about the thoughts that come in and out of your mind and what you choose to dwell on, okay? You are literally one thought away to make that problem go away. One thought away to make that problem go away. You can never stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can stop a bird from building a nest on your head. Okay? So you are one thought away from just thinking away to just solving that problem. I pray that God gives us the mercy and the grace to be able to solve the problems, whatever problems we meet, and then be able to not underthink about ourselves and the capacities that God has blessed us with, but not to overthink about the problems that, again, we are going through, but to always come back and guard ourselves and participate in the peace that we are supposed to have as human beings. I love you guys. Bless you.